Are you missing a 3/4 wrench?
No.
There's an icon on the toolbox.
Does it have a weird thing on it?
Yeah.
It's my father's probably. It's got that X shape. My icon is on X shape. Oh, right.
Your wrench is in here. Just figure it out. Right, that's yours.
Yeah, must be.
I'll put it in your toolbox.
Yeah.
The big long cover?
Yes.
I gotta put that on top of the toolbox.
Alright. Now I'm slightly lost.
Huh?
That switch is no longer making the air noise.
Oh, you're out of air on it. Okay.
No, I still got 100 and 100.
Alright, so we've got our valve body put together. I ended up drilling the holes in the plates that set on the frame for the valve body. So that valve body is going to go on here. This will be the left side. This will be the right hand frame rail. And then you'll just hook the hoses right direct into the valve. So we have to put on the return side of this valve a filter assembly in. So we'll get that set up. I've got the bracket made that's going to go on the hydraulic pump to kind of support the pump to the transmission. This will bolt on the pump, and this here bolts up against the transmission. These pieces, some of you can buy from buyers, but the bracket that they have for the pump isn't the right size, so I cut it in half. Then I just lay a piece of metal on there, weld it back together, and that's what we use to go on to the pump. Will be here, then the transmission will be up here. So we'll get that laying into place. Actually, I should paint that before we put it on, and then I need to lay out that valve so we can get figured out where the filter head is going to go so that we can plunk that down into place here. So we're just going to keep after it here. All right, well, we have our valve setting in place, so we're getting a little closer to getting this job done. And we're doing this one a little different than the other ones that we have done. We've got a slightly different tank here. The bungs on this tank are on the back and the front, so they're on either end. The other tanks that we've put on in the past had the bungs coming out the side of it, which works a little better because you can cut right to the pump and you can keep everything kind of streamlined and inside the frame rail. So on the other wet lines I've done, I've put the filter right here, and I come off the filter and I went on the inside of the frame rail with a return line back to the tank. So in doing that, I wanted to have a little protection for that filter, and I wanted to be able to have this area filled in. If the filter just sat here out in the open, you'd have a spot for somebody to slam their foot or break an ankle or damage a leg or something like that. So we put an additional piece of channel iron in here, and the reason why I'm using channel is just that's what I have on hand. This is a junior channel here, 12-inch, fits the valve perfectly. Got the legs that hang down on either side. We've got about 10 inches between the bolts. The only other thing to use would be a piece of flat iron. You'd want to use like maybe at least probably 3/8. Quarter inch might get a little wavy on you. So I've used the 12-inch channel. And then had to go a little longer, and then we put a 6-inch here to just kind of protect the filter on the other ones and to use it as somewhat of a deck plate. But in this application, we're going to put the filter out here, out on the right-hand side of the frame rail. It's going to hook to our pipe here. Here's our filter head. And then it's going to fall somewhere around like right here. It's going to be pretty good, something like that. Got a bracket here underneath that little impact. That will mount to the top of the filter just for a little more securement to hold that in place. We've got an 1.25 inch galvanized piece of pipe as a return line. That's going to hold a lot of the stress of the filter. We could even put a piece of flat bar in here to grab onto that pipe so it's not vibrating all that much. The other idea I could have had, or the other way I could have done this, is I could have just mounted the filter, ran a hose out of that, and then into the filter, and then another hose down to the tank. Well, the problem with that is these filter heads, they've only got 5/16 bolts that hold them in that aluminum housing there, and I like to have a little bit more girthiness there to hold that into place. So we've got our tabs underneath the junior channel here pinched into the frame, and then the bolt tightens up, and as that tightens up, it just squishes against the frame, and that's not going anywhere. These bolts are a little tough to come into this hole here. We'll have to grind a little bit of this off right here so it'll fit down in there nicely. But, or I could use a 7/16 bolt instead of a 1/2 inch. So we'll get this buttoned up. I've got to bend this piece of steel here. Once I get my exact height, I'll bend that piece of steel and I'll weld it right to this junior channel. And then this will all be one unit. So let's go ahead and finish the rest of this. The other idea one of the guys mentioned was, you know, bolt it right to the frame here, but if we want to move this at all, as far as, you know, shoving it forward a little bit or whatever, then we're going to be attached there. So if we attach the filter to this plate, everything's all one. So let's finish this up here.
Wow. Well, what's that?
So we're gonna do that door and something else? Just that door or every door?
Well, make sure the doors are
All the way
down
down?
tight. There's no air getting in underneath them. Alongside them, you could stuff some shit in alongside them or something.
Okay.
All right.
Getting the stuff ready, yeah.
I'm gonna go help him with that door in barn 4.
Okay.
I gotta I gotta hook into this yet. So.
Okay.
All right. It's still warm out.
Yeah, so we need that.
Okay, so we have this welded into place, and what we'll be able to do is pull these bolts out of this filter head itself, unbolt this valve body from that channel, and then we'll be able to paint the valve body separate from the pad that it's mounted to. Then that way we get paint underneath that valve. So we'll go ahead and do some more. I've got, I guess I could figure out how long my hydraulic line needs to be from the pump. But the return line's just gonna come off of here and go right down to the tank there. So we've got just some little bits and pieces here to finish up with. All right, we've got all of our parts ready for primer. Valve body, pump bracket. Jared's got some parts that he wants primed. We're gonna paint all that the same color. Here is the bracket that we're gonna set on the frame. The brother's gonna get everything primed. We'll let that sit and then we'll get it all in black paint. So today is this guy's last day. He's leaving us, aren't you?
Yep.
Going to greener pastures. So he has served his time here at Horgan Family Dairy, and he is headed back home to his home farm, right? We hope to see you again. It's been a pleasure, buddy. I gotta tell you, like a brother, like a son, and like family, right?
Yep.
He's just like Nate. It's just like Nate. So,
Yep, brothers.
yeah. Now we're gonna miss him, but he's also, yeah. So Jared has been working on this Mac. He's working on the vac truck right now. I don't know what he has left to this, but he has a throttle bracket that we're gonna be priming and painting here. And we've got to get this also in paint. So this truck's just about ready to go out the door. So we will get this in paint here, and then we will show you what things look like here. So I've got to stay busy. Got a little wire wheeling to do on the frame. So when we're ready to do some black, we can hit that. And then that will be ready. All right. All right, we are now adding the black. And that's gonna make things look snazzy. So they're working on brakes on this truck. What do you say, Bubs?
I don't know what you say, numbnuts.
That's the quote of the day right there.
There you go. Yeah. Do you have anything to say there, Nathan?
No, he took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah? What words were that?
Nothing much, numbnuts.
There you go. Is that disrespectful or what? I don't think so.
Not to me.
Do you think, you know, like if I called you numbnuts, would you be offended?
Very.
Why?
I don't know.
What would you rather me call you?
I don't know. Nate.
Scatterbrains?
Nate works pretty good.
Scatterbrains?
Oh, no, we can't call you that.
Nader the tater. The
Okay.
Nader the tater, the
Masturbator?
no.
No, not
No,
that. No, that's
that would
not
be
family friendly.
no, yeah, right, yeah. So I could call you numbnuts, and you'd rather have me call you numbnuts than that other like Nader the tater thing, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Okay. All right. As long as we're clear on that, because everybody was all up in arms when he was working on the payloader. I said, "Oh, let's see what numbnuts is up to." All up in arms that I'm calling him numbnuts. Were you offended that I was calling you numbnuts? No. What choice words do you call me? All right. So. All right. It is now Monday morning, and this paint on these items should be well and good and dry. We painted the last coat on this stuff here on Saturday morning. So we got the valve body here. We got the filter assembly covered up. We'll get that uncovered. We'll get the platform that's going to set on the frame. We'll get that setting in place. We've got our bracket here that's going to hook to the transmission and then down to the pump. And then Jared's got some items that we painted for him as well. So let's get that setting in place, and then we'll get the hydraulic valve on. And we'll button this job up. All right, we're getting the valve into place. Filter housing's bolted down. He's just hooking up the return hose now. And we've got to hook up some air hoses. We'll have to power the truck up, start the truck rather, so we can get the orientation of these air hoses correct to come into the shift cylinders. And we've got to put our fittings in for the trailers to be able to hook up. So yeah. Yeah.
I don't think eight.
I'll have to look at the order. Any luck?
No.
All right, we've got the system relief installed. We've got air fittings to put in and the fittings that come up out of the valve for the different trailers to hook to. All right, we've got this all set and ready to go. Just got to turn our ball valves on and let her rip. We'll get this catwalk moved back to here, get that tightened down, and then what we're going to do, if I don't know if I have the right hydraulic fittings, because we switched some of this stuff all around. We're going to see if what this has for flow. We don't know the speed of the PTO on this truck. So we'll do a couple things here and then we'll get this wrapped up. All right, we are now going to, we don't know where this PTO is at for speed ratio. We usually run them about 120%. So we got our flow meter set up. Brother's airing the truck up here. We just turned the hydraulic oil on. That's actually, I think it's running. Is it running? You got it going? Yeah. What's your pressure gauge say? Huh? 2500. Okay. I'm gonna labor it. Where's that at? Okay. Alright, so we've got the relief is set at 2500. So we got to dial that in a little bit. Now we're going to check flow on the unit. Alright, power the spread. Turn the spread on. Yep. PSI right there. The flow is a little weak, but alright, we don't know what the PTO is putting out for speed, but we're getting the pressure there. So the best thing we can do is just try it. Getting weak flow. So alright, we are just topping differentials off with oil. Gotta check the transmission here next. And then this flow meter is something that we bought at Hainsworth Farms. Measures your pressure, and then this is your flow here. And the flow wasn't quite where we wanted it, but we'll just have to see how it responds. It was rated at around that 18 to 20 gallons a minute at maximum pressure. So we'll get things topped off, and then we'll get this hooked on a manure trailer. Alright, he's going to run that up. We're going to hook it onto a manure trailer. They're just transferring manure right now from one pit to another. We've got her hooked up and going. He gets a load of manure on. We'll go down and watch it offload. So that's gonna do it for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and catch you at the next one.